We're finally getting some crazy movement on the Juan Soto front. And the Blue Jays, again, are at front and center of all of the news that is coming out. It's between them, the Mets, the Yankees, and obviously some other teams that are still dangling on here, but some very interesting stuff. So let's break it down on this episode of Jays Digest. Welcome in, everybody, to Jay's Digest. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And if you guys have been enjoying the daily Blue Jays content and sometimes even twice daily Blue Jays content amidst all of this crazy off-season stuff that we've had to sift through, make sure to hit that subscribe button because we're very close to our goal of 15,000 subscribers. And we're just a pinch away from 14,000. So it'd mean the world to Nick and I if you can help get us there because we've been grinding. You may not always agree with us, but we have been grinding away at this because we want to bring you all the latest and greatest Blue Jays news. It may not work out for them this offseason, but don't pin it on us. We're just the messengers. Welcome in, everybody. A lot of stuff to dive into today, Nick, because the words are flying around here. Scott Boras had a meeting just last night about the Juan Soto stuff, obviously, which is his client, and a lot of reporters were there. They were present. They were on the front lines, and they had a lot of information to divulge to the public afterwards. So we're going to sift through some of that, and we're going to get into the likelihood of the Blue Jays actually remaining in the mix once this Juan Soto stuff gets resolved. But Nick, crazy stuff going on. The news is not going to stop. So again, make sure to stay tuned for all of it.
Yeah, we are in what I like to call the home stretch, the final stretch of this Juan Soto sweepstakes, and it is eerily similar to what we felt a year ago with Ohtani, with the way, not necessarily, the odds, even though they're pretty similar as well, which we'll show you in a minute, but just the atmosphere around. I don't know about you, Peter. I'm refreshing Twitter every 5 minutes. I'm seeing the latest updates. Shout out to Ben Turner for always providing those on Twitter. Quick shout out to him. There's a ton of stuff going on here, and we're going to dive into it right now. And again, um, there's just a million different reports. We saw Ken Rosenthal come out with a report. We saw a New York reporter come out with a report. And like you mentioned, Scott Boras at Blake Snell's conference also spoke about Juan Soto. And we're going to start with this report from the New York reporter. The clubs publicly known to be the most serious about Soto are the Mets, Yankees, Red Sox, Jays, and Dodgers. We know that two people briefed in the negotiations said all contenders have made offers above $600 million. So that's not necessarily super new information, but this is where some of the new information starts to come in. The expectation within the industry is that Soto will make his decision by the end of winter meetings, but more likely by before the meetings kick off. But Boras said he doesn't expect an imminent decision. Now, this was also spearheaded by a different report from multiple reporters saying that they suspect it was Jim Bowden that a decision is going to be coming soon and by the end of this week. So if you're Scott Boras, you're not going to say a decision is imminent anyway because that lowers your leverage for your client in Juan Soto. So I do believe that a thing is happening by the end of this week, a signing. And at this point, the Mets are widely regarded as the favorites. They're worried about, the Yankees are worried about getting outbid. And the whole industry, Boras included, would benefit from Soto reaching accord soon. And to finalize a deal in time to formally announce it at the winter meetings, physical deal would have to happen over the next couple of days. One rival executive said, "We are waiting for the white smoke." And we have a tidbit from Ken Rosenthal regarding the Jays with some very interesting information, which I'll show you in a minute. But Peter, I want to get your thoughts on this first. We also have the patented ESPN chart breaking down the percentages from insiders of where they think Soto will land. It's a bit surprising. So let's get your thoughts on this first regarding where the Jays stand, how decisions at this point are going to be happening. Again, we're recording this late Tuesday night, so by the time this is uploaded on Wednesday morning, there's probably going to be some more speculation going around here. But Peter, as of the time of recording, things are, it's like a huge snowball that is really reaching its peak here.
Yeah, it's about to get even crazier as the days unfold here. Yeah, whatever we're hearing is probably within the next 7 to 10 days, we'll probably get a signature from Juan Soto. Still don't know where. We've had some reports come out and said that the New York
Yep.
Mets signing him is fairly imminent, which I'm not ready
David
to really.
Pingalore.
Yeah, David Pingalore. And for those of you that might be wondering who the hell is David Pingalore, he's been a KTLA 5 reporter, which is LA based. He's been a sports reporter for over 20 years. He was present at the Scott Boras meetings. The Scott Boras core, they follow him pretty frequently, and they have a good relationship between the two. So He's pretty qualified on the matter, at least to talk about Scott Boras' clients. So, again, it could be used as some leverage. It may be a friend saying, "Hey, go out and say this," so a team could go offer more. So Steve Cohen could end up winning the bid outright and offering more. It could be a leverage play. We've seen that before. The Blue Jays have been victims of that before. So again, I'm not going to read too heavily into these things until a decision is actually made. But some progress has been made from quite a few teams apparently, like the Mets, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and the Dodgers are always in the mix, of course. But I wouldn't be so quick to say that the Dodgers really need Juan Soto. They don't need him. They won the World Series in 5 games. I think there's even a limit to how much they're willing to spend in the past couple of off seasons. So it's a luxury that I'm sure they'd love to have, but at the right price. I don't think they're going to want to go toe to toe with Steve Cohen or with Ed Rogers of the Toronto Blue Jays ownership. So I really think it's a 3 team race, maybe a 4 team race if you want to include the Red Sox. But money wise, I think it's the Yankees, the Mets, and then the Toronto Blue Jays. So I think the Jays are in an okay spot, and I'd rather them kind of be in the rear view mirror as opposed to being front and center and having to go toe to toe with Steve Cohen. I rather them just sneak up in the last second and offer Soto more after a strong presentation, which they were said to have had with him a couple of days ago, or just a week ago, or something like
Feels like
that. So
forever ago, but yeah.
it does. I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore, Nick. We're going nuts over here. We're uploading 3 times a day, 2 times a day. I don't even know what we're doing anymore, but we're doing it, and Soto's going to sign soon, hopefully, to end all of this madness so we could put it to bed and focus on the rest of the offseason. But he's obviously the golden goose. He is the top dog in this free agent class. He's going to get paid. I don't know whether it's going to start with a 6 or a 7, but it's going to be hefty. And the Blue Jays are giving themselves a shot. And that's pretty much all you can ask for a team that's on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and you mentioned it is going to come to a culmination here very soon. And there's a lot. I'll show you a couple other things here. So again, Steve Cohen getting outbid. That's the biggest question. And some executives said this is regarding the Blue Jays. Quote, they are on tilt. They are going all out to try to rescue the team from losing and irrelevance. They had a $700 million bid for Ohtani. They're owned by Rogers. I expect Toronto to have the top bid. And on the other side, Mark Shapiro, Ross Atkins, and manager John Schneider are all on the thinnest of ice. So could this be their last chance? But at the same time, you can see at the bottom, is he really going to go to a last place Canadian team with no protection in the lineup if Vladdy leaves? He's going to have anonymity on a bad team, meaning, of course, he's going to be, if in theory, irrelevant on a bad team. So some interesting things there. This is from Ken Rosenthal saying the Jays are on tilt. I agree with them. This is why I think that's why I'm even remotely, hoping and giving some hope to the idea of Soto coming to Toronto. I think the Jays are going to outbid any other team. And Peter, this is the ESPN chart of Juan Soto.
MLB Network.
MLB Network, sorry, not ESPN. MLB Network, sorry. We saw this with Ohtani last year. I believe the Jays were 55 or 60% with the Dodgers at 40. Ultimately didn't sign with the Jays, signed with the Dodgers. However, these are from some insiders, some guys, predicting. It's a very interesting spread. Now, Mets 37, Jays 30, Yankees 22 with the Red Sox and the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to happen. The Red Sox had a lot of traction there for a few days. I think a lot of that was just smoke and false reporting. I don't think that's really what's going to be happening here. However, the Jays are at 30%. And again, take this. This is not reports saying that the Jays are going to, have a 30% chance of landing Soto. That being said, I will say that there is some steam building up regarding not only the Jays, but the Mets and the Yankees as well. And as this thing comes to a, culmination here and the end, I think the less we hear about the Jays, we haven't been hearing about them too much. It almost bodes better for the Jays in my mind, because I think that I think they're serious players for this. We saw Hector Gomez here. Take this for what you will. The Jays don't want to be left behind. They upgraded their initial offer. Hector Gomez sometimes right. He has close sources with Dominican players. Sorry, sometimes he's wrong. But Peter, this is it's a bit of an interesting chart here. You combine this with the latest news regarding them being on tilt. You can make a case for it like you're making a case for it all month and all the past 3 weeks, but 30%, they have the Jays above the Yankees, which for what it's worth is honestly interesting to me.
Yeah, it is. And I'm not a math guy, but let me know if this adds up, Nick. So I'm going to go 37% for the Mets, 37 for the Yankees, and 15 for the Blue Jays. Does that add up? I think
Uh,
that adds up.
yeah, you can add the
I,
other. If you're missing any percent, just add it to the
I
basketball
believe
calculator.
so. Anyways, I'll do the quick calculation there. So 37 times 2 and then plus 15. Yes, it adds up. It's actually perfect. Maybe I am a math guy. Maybe I'm in the wrong line of work here, but yeah, I'm going to give the Blue Jays a 15% chance. I'm going to stick with what I've been saying all along. Um, which is not a bad thing. And like I mentioned, I think it's better for them to be in the rear view this time because, as you mentioned, Nick, they were what, 60% favored
Yeah,
to get Shohei Ohtani last time. And we all know how that ended up. He's not a Blue Jay. He's a Los Angeles Dodger, and he's now a World Series champion. So the fact that the Blue Jays were so heavily involved into that maybe strayed them off of their backup plans, which I hope they learned from last offseason because it's still a long shot. And even if you are at 30% hypothetically, there's still a 70% chance that you don't get him. So I think it's best for them to do their due diligence. Of course, offer the most amount of money that's allotted to you by Edward Rogers, and then you go from there. If you outbid Steve Cohen and then Steve Cohen goes ahead and outbids you, I don't know if the Blue Jays are going to turn around and do it again. I don't know if they're willing to go that far for a guy who has nowhere near the off-field impact that Shohei Ohtani does. So I want to remain optimistic. I'm still going to give them a chance. I still think they're third place as it stands right now. But the fact that they are sort of in a secondary role here allows them to focus their assets on other pieces that can help this team. And ultimately, I think they're going to be better off for it. You can still try and get Juan Soto as hard as you can, but you still have to remain prioritized on other free agents because if you have everyone back and healthy and you make a couple of major adds, I don't think you're that far away from the playoffs. And especially in the American League, which was exponentially weaker than the National League last year, you give yourself a chance. I mean, let's take a look at some of the playoff teams from last season, Nick. The Tigers won 86 games and they snuck in after selling at the deadline. The Cleveland Guardians, no disrespect to them, but they were clearly overmatched by the Yankees in the playoffs. And the Kansas City Royals, a team that was projected to be in the basement. So those three teams in the AL Central made the playoffs. That just shows you how weak the league altogether. So it's not crazy to suggest that a deep playoff run could happen with a couple of additions that aren't Juan Soto.
yeah, and it's I think it's possible. I think even if they don't get Juan Soto, there's some other things they can do. You said obviously 37, 37, 15, I believe you said, and then of course 5 and 6 to the Dodgers and Red Sox. I'm gonna go with, just to have it on record here, 50% Mets, 30% Jays, 15% Yankees, and then whatever the rest percentage is. So I do think the Jays have an upper hand on the Yankees. I think the Mets, though, at this point are the favorites in my mind. They've been the favorites the whole time. And let us know down below your split of this ominous pie chart that we are going to we've seen each of the past 2 off seasons. But let us know down below what your thoughts are on this. Tons of things going on. We're going to have another video today in all likelihood, assuming new reports are coming out. So make sure you stay tuned for that, and let us know down below if you're starting to get hopeful or you're starting to get a little bit pessimistic. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.